All right, let's dive into a story that's really about transformation. We're not just talking about a single building here, but a whole region that's kind of at a crossroads. We're going to explore how this one new creative hub, Voxel Micro Video Labs, is right at the heart of the South Bay's really ambitious future.
Okay, so what does a derelict mall have in common with a rocket ship? I know, it sounds like the start of a bad joke, right? But the answer tells us pretty much everything we need to know about what's happening in the South Bay right now. You've got these two huge symbols of a place that's totally in flux, caught between this gritty industrial past and this, super high-tech future. Stick with me, and I promise we're going to connect all the dots.
So first, let's zoom out and get the big picture. The LA job market as a whole? Yeah, it's kind of stalling out here in early 2026. But the South Bay? It's a whole different story. It's bucking that trend. It's a genuine bright spot. And what's fueling it? Well, it's this massive aerospace boom, and of course the big run-up to the Winter Olympics. You can just feel it. There's energy, there's growth, there's a ton of opportunity.
But, and this is a big but, that growth, it comes with a price. For the very companies driving this boom, we're talking aerospace and defense giants, the real estate market is just incredibly tight. I mean, they're trying to expand, they need space, and they're all fighting to attract the absolute best talent in a super competitive landscape. It's a real pressure cooker. And then, at the very same time, there's this whole other kind of pressure building up. Think about those beloved local spots, right? Like the Manhattan Beach newsstand. Well, for them, rising rents and just changing habits, it's forcing them to shut their doors for good. It really feels like the end of an era. So you've got this incredible tension, right? On one hand, explosive growth for the big guys, and on the other, a real existential threat for the little guys.
So that brings us to the big question. How do you solve for all of this at once? Well, the answer isn't what you'd expect. It's not some typical business plan, it's more of a philosophy, and it's embodied in this new creator hub called Voxel Micro Video Labs. And trust me, this is about way more than just renting studio space. It's a whole new way of thinking about growth and community.
This one quote, honestly, it explains everything. The founder, Jennifer Wolfe, she's actually a therapist. So when she looked at this totally dilapidated 1922 J.C. Penney building down in San Pedro, she didn't just see a ruin. Nope, she saw a patient. And that is the key to what Voxel is doing. They're taking this therapeutic, story-first approach and applying it to everything from urban renewal to business growth. It's pretty revolutionary.
And this philosophy, it didn't just come out of nowhere. It was inherited. You can really think of it as two guiding forces. From her mom, who was a psychologist, she got what they call the lantern. This idea of empathy as a real discipline, a light to show the way. And then from her dad, a cardiologist who became a venture capitalist, she got the spine. That's the strength to actually fund people's dreams and give them a solid structure. The lantern and the spine. That's literally the Voxel DNA.
Even the name, Voxel, tells you so much about how they see the world. It actually comes from her father's really ambitious medical imaging company that, well, by most standards, it failed. But instead of burying that, they embraced it. By using that name, they're completely flipping the script. They're basically celebrating tenacity and saying, hey, failure isn't the end. It's just the first draft of success. I love that.
So you might be wondering, just how personal and heartfelt is this whole venture? Well, it kind of all comes down to one simple number, 7.
Yep, that's the number of family cats that studios named after them. I'm not kidding. The studios aren't called, Studio A or Conference Room B. They're named after their 12 nieces and nephews and their 7 cats. That tells you everything, right? This is a place built on real, personal connection, not some sterile corporate branding.
Okay, so now that we get the philosophy, the soul of this place, let's see how Voxel can actually tackle some of the South Bay's biggest challenges. First on the list, real estate. There are some massive transformations happening.
So look at the challenge side. You've got the Hawthorne Mall, which for decades has been this huge barrier to growth. It desperately needs a new story. Then you've got the Apollo project in Gardena, which needs to attract all those high-tech workers. Now look at Voxel's capability. They're experts in the exact kind of resurrection stories that the mall needs, and they have the killer facilities to create that polished aerospace corridor lifestyle content that the Apollo project is looking for. It's a perfect match.
So what's their secret sauce? What's the Voxel method here? Well, they basically take their own origin story and apply it to these other projects. They don't try to hide the past or pave over it. No, they honor the scars and the grit. They document the whole transformation from, blight to asset. It's all about framing a new narrative for the community and giving that project a soul that needed healing.
All right, let's switch gears. We're going from revitalizing old buildings to fueling actual rocket ships. It's time to talk about the South Bay's booming tech and aerospace sector, the engine of the local economy, which people are now calling Space Beach.
The challenges here are all about scale and speed. You've got these absolute giants, Anduril, SpaceX, Tesla, and they're in an all-out war for talent. They need amazing content to stand out. Then you have the smaller local suppliers who need to look every bit as professional to land contracts with these guys. So what's the solution? Voxel. It's a local launchpad where both the big guys and the little guys can create top-tier content without the crazy expense of building their own studio.
So, the Voxel method here is all about giving innovation a voice. Think of it like a plug-and-play content engine for the whole Space Beach ecosystem. They provide a full-service studio without the headache and the overhead. They give these companies' stories the polish and power they need to be heard all over the world. It's basically a content engine for recruitment, for branding, for everything.
Okay, let's bring it back down to earth for a minute. We've talked about real estate, we've talked about aerospace, but what about Main Street? How does this model help the small businesses, the local retailers who are facing just massive disruption right now?
The challenges are different, for sure, but the underlying principle is exactly the same. So on one end of the spectrum, you have a big company like Darden Restaurants. They're rapidly rebranding 14 locations and need to create targeted marketing content like yesterday. Voxel is perfect for that. But on the other end, you have small businesses just trying to survive rising rents. For them, Voxel is an incubator, a place for anyone with a dream to learn how to adapt to this new digital age.
For these Main Street businesses, Voxel is so much more than a studio. It's really a digital lifeline. It's designed from the ground up to be a launchpad for local creators, giving them the tools to produce content that actually connects with their community. It's an incubator to help them not just survive online, but thrive. It's all about leveling the playing field.
So, let's recap. We've seen how Voxel is a potential solution for real estate, for big tech, and for small retail. But there's one final piece of the puzzle, something on the horizon that brings all of this together and seriously raises the stakes for the entire South Bay.
You guessed it, the 2026 Winter Olympics. And look, this is so much more than a sporting event. For 2 weeks, a global spotlight is going to be pointed directly at LA and the South Bay. This is a massive, once-in-a-generation opportunity for the region to define its brand for the entire world. You just can't miss it. And this is where it all comes together. Voxel is perfectly positioned to be the platform where the South Bay tells its Olympic story. It's a place for local heroes, athletes like the amazing figure skater Madison Chalk, and for local brands to get their stories polished and ready for that world stage.
Which brings us right to this final, powerful question. You see, Voxel's story of resurrection, it's really a mirror for the South Bay itself. A phoenix is rising from the old, creating something totally new and vibrant. But this isn't just about a new business opening its doors. It's an invitation to the entire community, from the real estate developers to the rocket scientists to the local shop owners, to come together and be a part of this story. So the question really is, will you rise with her?